Imagine stepping into a room where the air is thick with the musk of sweat, smoke, livestock, and something far worse, human rot. No, this isn't a medieval battlefield or a plague hospital. This was daily life in colonial America. The founding fathers may have dreamed of liberty, but let's be honest, they smelled like unwashed bodies, marinated in wool and leather. Today, we're peeling back the perfumed layers of forgotten history to uncover why, in early America, everyone from governors to blacksmiths to school teachers read, and the reasons aren't just gross, they're shocking, a mix of outdated science, moral codes, religious fear, and pure ignorance. By the end of this video, you'll want to build a monument to indoor plumbing. So, why didn't they bathe? Were they too poor for soap? Did they know they stank? Or was odor just an accepted fact of life like taxes or war? And how did these customs affect their health, social hierarchy, and even their revolution? From the dangerous myth that water could kill you, to wigs that stank of powder and mold, and homes that baked body stench into the woodwork, we're diving nose first into one of the most bizarre chapters in world history. This isn't just about bad smells. It's about how a civilization born from rebellion and faith came to accept filth as part of identity. How history facts can sometimes reveal more about culture than war or politics ever could. This is Weird History, soaked in sweat and superstition. If you love peeling back the layers of strange history, hit that subscribe button now, and comment below. What's the worst historical stench you think you couldn't survive? Now, let's begin this pungent journey with one hard truth. They didn't even notice. To understand the stench of colonial America, we first need to understand this. They didn't smell it. Seriously, in a world where no one bathed, clothes were rarely washed, and livestock lived practically inside the home, odor wasn't abnormal, it was atmospheric. Everyone reeked, from the pastor to the blacksmith to the child playing in the mud. And when everyone smells, no one does. This was a nose-blind society. Odor was not a source of shame. It was a sign of normalcy. You didn't notice your neighbor's musk because yours was just as ripe. In fact, strong personal scent was often linked with health and vitality. A man's sweat, proof he worked hard. A woman's perfume-masked body, suspiciously vain or trying too hard. They wore layer upon layer of wool and linen in heat and cold alike, trapping moisture, dirt, and body oils. And since undergarments weren't frequently changed, the buildup was intense. Lye soap was available but too harsh for regular skin contact, and laundry. That was a once-a-month back-breaking ordeal done in rivers or washtubs. Most families had only 1 or 2 changes of clothing. Even the elite weren't exempt. Fancy silk gowns, once worn, would be hung to air out, not cleaned. Wigs were powdered to hide the scent of scalp buildup. Beds were rarely changed. People shared tight quarters, with no ventilation and a constant haze of body heat and breath. And summer, a nightmare of fermenting humanity in stagnant air. But what's truly fascinating is how smell helped define social rank. The rich might mask odor with herbs, citrus peels, or imported oils. The poor, they lived among barn animals, chamber pots, and unwashed fabrics. Yet even the rich were dirty by today's standards. This is one of the great ironies of historical curiosities. The most powerful people in history often smelled the worst. So, next time you watch a historical drama and imagine elegance, remember, they weren't just fighting for independence, they were marinating in themselves. If you're into bizarre history that reshapes how you see the past, drop a comment with your favorite gross historical fact. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more history secrets hidden in plain stink. Next, we explore one of the most dangerous myths ever believed, that water could kill you. It might sound absurd today, but in colonial America, water wasn't just avoided, it was feared. The prevailing belief among doctors, clergy, and housewives was terrifyingly simple. Bathing could make you sick, or even kill you. That's right. The act of cleaning your body was considered dangerous. Why? Because they believed that warm water opened the pores, and through those open pores, bad air called miasma could seep into the body and cause illness. This idea came from ancient history, especially Roman and medieval theories about humors and air quality. Even outdated medical textbooks warned against full immersion. Instead, they promoted dry bathing, rubbing the skin with cloth, ashes, or herbs, but never actual water. This wasn't fringe science, it was mainstream medicine. Even elite households kept bathtubs mostly for decoration. Some believed water not only weakened the body, but that it spiritually unsealed it, making it vulnerable to demonic influence or temptation. Cleanliness was seen as vanity. Filth, a sign of humility. People might wash their hands or faces occasionally, but a full-body bath, maybe once or twice a year. In some towns, public bathhouses were closed due to fear of plague spreading through water. In colder months, people would go the entire winter without touching water except for drinking. This made rivers, lakes, and even home basins sources of paranoia. Imagine the irony, surrounded by fresh water, yet terrified to use it. Many colonists opted for a dab of rosewater, a handful of herbs sewn into clothing, or simply wearing linen layers to absorb sweat and trap the odor. Soap was homemade from lye and animal fat so harsh it burned the skin. If you were lucky, your hygiene included wiping your body with a vinegar-soaked rag or brushing your teeth with charcoal, salt, or chalk. It wasn't until Enlightenment thinkers began promoting public health that the tide began to turn. But for most of early America, water wasn't refreshing. It was a history mystery waiting to kill you. If you're fascinated by how bizarre history shaped even our most basic habits, tell us your favorite hygiene myth in the comments. And be sure to subscribe for more history trivia that will make you grateful for modern plumbing. Next up, if they weren't bathing, how exactly did they cover up the smell? So, if early Americans weren't bathing, how did they deal with the stench? Simple, they didn't remove it, they masked it. Welcome to the world of perfume, powder, and desperate cover-ups. In colonial America, cleanliness wasn't about washing, it was about disguising decay. This was the era of rosemary satchels, powdered wigs, and layers of linen meant to soak up sweat rather than clean it off. Let's start with wigs. Adopted from European fashion, wigs were the perfect place to hide both odor and vermin. They were powdered with starch, scented with lavender or rose, and occasionally infested with lice. Many people never cleaned their scalps, instead applying layer upon layer of powder directly to dirty hair. This led to mildew infections and an unmistakable smell of wet starch and ratist, especially in summer. For the body, herbs were everything. Small cloth bags of rosemary, cloves, or citrus peel were sewn into clothes or tucked into pockets. Some people even wore garlands of flowers or herbs around their necks, believing it would purify the air around them. In reality, it just made the stench more complex, mixing sweat with floral confusion. Colonial women often used powdered rice or lead-based makeup to cover oily, unwashed skin. The lead, of course, was poisonous, leading to hair loss, skin rot, and worse. Still, pale skin was the beauty standard, and smell was secondary to appearance. Beauty over biology, always. Linen undergarments acted like disposable towels. They absorbed the worst of the sweat and could be changed more often than outerwear, but they weren't washed frequently, just aired out and reused, spreading bacteria and odor over time. Even households followed this logic. Floors were swept, not washed. Air was freshened by burning herbs or citrus peels. Water was rarely used for cleaning furniture or walls. Dirt was managed, not eliminated. This wasn't just about laziness. It was a mindset shaped by tradition, bad science, fear of disease, and centuries of strange history handed down like a recipe. If this sounds unbelievable, remember it was completely normal to them. Smell wasn't an emergency. It was expected. If you love digging into these forgotten history gems, hit that like button, and let us know in the comments, what's the weirdest hygiene habit you've ever heard of? Next, we'll step into the source of it all, the colonial home itself. Now let's step inside a typical colonial home, but brace yourself. This isn't the romantic log cabin from your school books. It's a sensory overload of filth, livestock, smoke, and human funk. Welcome to the true heartbeat of forgotten history, where the stench wasn't just outside. It was in every breath you took. Start with the floors. Most were packed dirt or roughly cut wood. No polish, no sealant. Just years of grime, food scraps, animal waste, and all the mess of daily life seeped into every crack. Some homes added straw or rushes for comfort, but these were changed infrequently. Underneath, mold, lice, and a city of bacteria. Now the animals. It was common for families to bring livestock indoors during cold months. Chickens, goats, pigs, even cows in rural homes. Their waste collected on the floors. Imagine the aroma. warm dung mixing with stale sweat and spoiled food. Ventilation was virtually non-existent. Windows were small, and in winter they were sealed with cloth to keep heat in. Fires burned non-stop, not just for cooking, but for warmth and light. Smoke clung to walls, ceilings, and lungs. Everything, your clothes, your hair, your skin smelled like smoke and sweat. Toilets, think chamber pots, and outhouses. Pits were dug in backyards, sometimes too close to wells. People dumped pots out windows or into streets, causing epidemics and revolting urban conditions. It got so bad, early towns had to pass bizarre sanitation laws to stop people from dumping feces into public alleys. Kitchens didn't smell better. Refrigeration didn't exist. Salted and smoked meats were the norm, but fresh meat spoiled quickly, especially in summer. Add rotting vegetables, old firewood, and boiling animal fat, and you've got a kitchen fragrance that no candle could mask. Beds were equally offensive. Mattresses were stuffed with straw, feathers, or rags, and infested with mites and lice. Washing them was rare. Add unwashed nightshirts, sweat-drenched linens, and body odor. And you didn't rest, you marinated. Seasonal changes made it worse. Summer turned every home into a fermentation chamber. Winter sealed the smell in tight. Rain brought damp rot. Dry months stirred dust and fleas. Yet for colonists, this was normal. Cleanliness was rarely a priority. Survival came first. Their homes were fortressized against wild animals, disease, and nature, but they were also biohazards wrapped in wood. We call this weird history, but to them, it was just life, a reflection of tradition, isolation, and misinformation. So next time you light a candle, scrub your sink, or run hot water, give thanks for plumbing and public health. Your home smells better than 99% of human dwellings in world history. Love this kind of raw, real history education? Smash that like button, and comment below what part of colonial home life would have driven you insane. Coming up next, how the unwashed became the righteous. In colonial America, filth wasn't just tolerated, it was sometimes celebrated. Strange as it sounds, being dirty could signal morality, humility, and even religious devotion. Welcome to the upside-down world of bizarre history, where being clean was suspicious, and stink was sacred. Let's start with the Puritans. These deeply religious settlers didn't just avoid vanity, they believed it was sinful. Bathing too often, grooming excessively, or spending time on appearance was seen as a form of pride, even lust. Dirt wasn't just a byproduct of labor, it was a badge of godliness. If you worked hard and lived simply, you weren't clean. You were righteous. In many rural areas, washing the body was something reserved for death, disease, or major events like childbirth. For daily life, people relied on linen shifts and herbal rub-downs, and even these were done quietly. No flaunting, no indulgence. Cleanliness was private. Dirt was public virtue. Social class played a major role. The wealthier you were, the more access you had to perfumed oils, imported soaps, and luxury fabrics. But using them too often could backfire. Cleanliness hinted at laziness. It suggested you weren't working the fields or raising livestock. In a society built on survival, being too clean meant you weren't doing your part. Even when people did bathe, modesty ruled. Communal baths were seen as indecent. Mixed gender washing, unthinkable. The idea of a full naked bath of implications of vanity or temptation. Some believed frequent bathing made the soul vulnerable to demonic forces or spiritual weakness. Over time, this blend of religion, poverty, and superstition created a cultural paradox, one of the strangest in history trivia. Americans came to associate filth with authenticity. If you were dirty, you were honest. If you were clean, you were suspicious, maybe even European. Ironically, this mindset would delay medical progress. It took plagues, reformers, and Enlightenment ideals to challenge this thinking and push hygiene into public consciousness. But back then, if you were clean, people whispered, "What were you trying to prove?" If you're loving this deep dive into the strange history of soap-shooting societies, hit that subscribe button and comment, would you have survived the morality of musk? Next, we explore the turning point, how Enlightenment ideas slowly scrubbed America clean. Something remarkable happened in the late 1700s SE, an intellectual revolution that not only reshaped politics and science, but also challenged one of the most disgusting habits in world history, fear of bathing. The Enlightenment brought more than liberty and logic. It introduced a new kind of purity, physical, not just spiritual. Suddenly, being clean wasn't vanity, it was science. Soap stopped being suspicious and started being essential. Doctors and thinkers began making bold claims. Washing your body could actually prevent disease. They studied plagues, documented outbreaks, and realized that filth wasn't holy, it was hazardous. This era sparked the first real history discoveries that linked grime to germs. Long before germ theory was officially named, urban reformers campaigned for bathhouses and better water infrastructure. Streets were scrubbed, wells were protected. Even Benjamin Franklin, yes, the founding father, argued that public hygiene was essential to liberty. Clean streets, clean homes, clean minds. Soap, once homemade and caustic, became more refined. Olive oil soaps, milder ingredients, and mass production made it more accessible. Public health advocates began urging people to bathe weekly, even daily. Of course, not everyone embraced the scrub. Generations of fear and misinformation clung to people like the dirt they refused to wash off. But progress marched forward. By the early 1800s, a cultural shift had taken hold. History facts began replacing folk tales. Bathing moved from sinful to sanitary. Hospitals adopted cleanliness. Soldiers were required to wash. Schools taught basic hygiene. The Enlightenment didn't just cleanse minds, it started scrubbing entire societies, one bath at a time. If this mix of history, education, and hygiene blows your mind, smash that like button and comment below. What's your favorite odd hygiene myth? Up next, we wrap it all up. How bad smells led to one of the greatest shifts in human behavior. So how did we go from dirt-worshipping colonists to a culture obsessed with freshness, deodorant, and daily showers? The answer lies in one of the greatest shifts in human behavior, story shaped by science, marketing, and good old-fashioned shame. By the late 19th century, the Enlightenment's ripple effects had transformed American values. Cleanliness was no longer a personal quirk, it became a national identity. Public health reforms, plumbing systems, and access to soap turned hygiene from luxury into habit. It wasn't just about smelling good anymore. It was about being seen as respectable, modern, and healthy. Then came the marketing revolution. As industrial capitalism exploded, so did soap ads. Companies like Pears, Lifebuoy, and Lever Brothers invented the idea that body odor was a social crime. Their ads shamed people, especially women, into believing that if you smelled, you'd lose your friends, your job, even your marriage. Smell became a fear. Clean became profit. By the 1920s, cleanliness had morphed into a cultural obsession. Deodorants, mouthwash, shampoos, powders, toothpaste, each product pitched as a shield against social rejection. Bizarre history turned into consumer psychology. Hollywood added fuel to the fire. The silver screen portrayed glamorous characters with glowing skin and glossy hair, bathing in spotless tubs. The gritty, grimy realism of earlier centuries vanished behind cinematic sparkle. Clean became not just good, it became beautiful, desirable, mandatory. What had once been feared, water, soap, even scent, was now a civic duty. By the 1950s, daily showers were standard in most American homes. Hygiene became a sign of success, and smelling bad, a sign you were slipping. Today, we don't just expect cleanliness, we demand it. And it's all rooted in this strange evolution. Through history, facts, spiritual dogma, enlightenment, science, and corporate branding. So next time you use deodorant or buy that new shampoo, remember, you're part of one of the most fascinating transformations in world history. A revolution fought not with weapons, but with soap. If you loved this dive into forgotten history, smash that like button and comment with your favorite hygiene myth, or share how many products you use in your routine. And don't forget to subscribe for more historical stories that still echo in your everyday life. Stay curious, stay clean, and keep questioning the past.